Hare Krishna, Namaste, Chapter 17, which is entitled as Shraddha Traya Vibhava Yoga, the three types of faith. Summary of Chapter 17. Ashastram Ashram Krishnam Shastriyam Gunatha Pratak Lakshanam Shastra Siddhasya Tridasapta Dashotitam. This is a sloka from Gītārtha Sangraha by Sri Yamunacharya, where he summarizes this chapter 17. It says that the activity that are not enjoined in the scriptures are demoniac in nature, hence fruitless. Actions such as yajna, tapa, dhana, etc., which are prescribed by the Shastra, fall into three kinds because of the three gunas, and it is said that they are characterized by being associated with the expression Om Tat Sat. Starting off this chapter, Arjuna asked a question. Krishna, some people perform yaga and other rituals which are not prescribed in the Shastra, and the procedures also not prescribed in the Shastra, but they do it anyway with great involvement, with full faith. What is their state? Do they abide in Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, or Tamoguna? Krishna, before giving a direct answer to Arjuna, he started giving details about faith itself, Shraddha. Shraddha is of three kinds, and depending on one's interest, their faith differentiates into Sattvic, Rajasic or Tamasic. And people differ according to their faith, Shraddha. A person only gets those kinds of results in the attainment of which he has faith. Arjuna, those having the Sattva Guna dominating will worship the gods. If Rajoguna is more powerful, the person worships yakshas and rakshasas. If Tamoguna is dominating, he worships the spirits of the dead and groups of ghosts. Those who perform severe austerities, terrible penance, which are not recommended in the Shastra, are doing this because of their pride and desire for publicity and aiming to attain their desired mundane benefits. These people weaken or torture their body and also cause much of discomfort to one's own self dwelling in their heart, who is part and parcel of me. Know, Arjuna, that these persons to be of demoniac disposition. Then Krishna says that the Shraddha, the faith in activities prescribed in the Shastra, is of three types. The person having this faith are also of three kinds. Even the food that one takes falls under the three modes of material nature, based on the mode that the person is in. That also extends to sacrifices, austerity, charity, and anything for that matter. According to their guna, they choose a certain type of activity, and that activity also falls into three types: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. This covers till the 7th sloka. Then 8th, 9th and 10th, Krishna speaks about the types of food that are preferred by certain people. In 8th sloka, Krishna says that food which promotes longevity, clear intellect, strength, health, happiness and satisfaction is sweet, has some oil or ghee, and is pleasing to mind. Such food is dear to the Sattvic person. The food which are enjoyed by people who are in Rajasic are bitter, sour, very salty, very hot, very pungent, dry, burning, and generating bile, which produce interest in action resulting in sorrow and which promote sickness. Whereas food which is stale, tasteless, foul-smelling, left over by someone, decayed, unfit as an offering to the Lord, such food is much liked by tamasic person. Then in Sloka 11, 12 and 13, Krishna speaks about yajna, sacrifice which is performed with no motive but only for the pleasure of the Lord, with a firm resolve that it is being done for its own sake and is performed because it is said in the Shastra. Then it is called Satvika Yajna. Whereas when a sacrifice is performed for show or even for the sake of attaining its prescribed fruits, it is said to be Rajasic, Rajasa Yajna. Whereas sacrifice which is done without the blessings of elders, learned, and being performed with materials that are not sanctioned in the Shastra, lacking of mantras, without giving payment to the sacrifice, and done with devoid of faith, said to be sacrifice in mode of ignorance, Tamasa Yajna. Then in 14, 15 and 16, Krishna spoke about austerity of the body, austerity of speech, and austerity of mind. Austerity of body consists of worshipping the gods, the brahmanas, the preceptors, and the enlightened ones, purifying oneself in the sacred waters, simplicity, celibacy, and non-violence. These are tapas of the body. Whereas austerity of speech is when the speech does not harm others through fear, being truthful, speaking things that are beneficial for others, recitation of scriptures. Such things are said to be austerity of speech. When one keeps their mind free of any turbulence, such as anger, greed, etc., concerning for the welfare of others, refraining from idle talk, contemplating on topics related to Atma and Paramatma, self and Supreme Self, disinterested in other subjects, then it is considered to be austerity performed with the mind. Then Sloka 17, 18 and 19, Krishna explains about the threefold penance austerity. Austerity in goodness, austerity in passion, and austerity in ignorance. When a penance practiced with no expectation of any fruit other than just pleasing the Lord, performing because it is said in the scripture, with full faith, is known as Satvika Tapas. Whereas austerity, tapas, performed with body, speech and mind for the sake of gaining fame, respect from others, done with pride, are said to be the austerity in Rajoguna. The reward that one receives by such Rajoguna austerity is perishable and brings in fear because of the impermanent nature of the reward. When the austerity is done without any proper assessment of one's capacity, when it is done by torturing oneself, or austerity performed for the sake of the destruction of others, then it is said to be tamasic, penance in the mode of ignorance. Then in Sloka 20, 21 and 22, Krishna explains the threefold classification of dhanam, charity. When a gift is given without any expectation of reward, but as a sacred act by itself, done at right place in right time to a worthy person from whom one has not already received any obligation and from whom one does not expect any return in future either. Such a gift is Sattvic Dhanam. Whereas when the charity, the gift, is given considering of future benefits or in response to something already received or with the idea to achieve some fruits by giving dhana, or even if something is given which is of no use to the receiver, it serves no useful purpose, then it is said to be Rajasic Dhana. Whereas when the gift is given at a wrong place or wrong time or to an unworthy person without due respect, thinking the receiver to be unworthy, lower than himself, then such dhanam becomes tamasic. After explaining various threefold classifications from sloka 8 to 22, next Krishna started explaining the characteristic features of the Vedic rites. In 23rd sloka, Krishna said that Om, Tat, Sat, these three expressions are considered to be connected with the Vedas. I have ordained that the Vedas, the Vedic rituals, and those who recite the Vedas be connected with these three syllables. Then in 24th sloka, Krishna explained how Om is connected, and in 25th sloka about Tat, and in 26th sloka and 27th sloka about Sat. Those people who are eligible to recite the Vedas perform the Vedic ritual always starting and ending with the syllable Om. The aspirants of liberation who performs various rituals like yajna, tapa, dhana with no regard for the benefits, they do only after uttering Om Tat first. Whereas Sat generally in the world is meant to be something which exists. Existence is said to be Sat, and something which is good, has goodness, also known to be Sat. For example, Sat Karma, good act. Whereas the actual meaning of Sat in this context is the steadfastness of person who follows the Vedas in respect of sacrifice, penance, charity is said to be Sat. And any good deed undertaken by such person aiming to secure some benefits is also called Sat. And in the last sloka, Ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritam chayat asat ityuchyate partha nachatat pretya no iha. Whatever sacrifice, austerity or charity is done as per the scripture but without faith, faith in the scripture, faith in the Lord, is called asat. Through such actions, one neither gets worldly benefits in this life or next life, nor liberation can be obtained. Therefore, one must perform what is prescribed in the scripture. As they perform, they must have complete faith. Faith in the mode of goodness, faith in the scriptures, faith in the Supreme Lord. That ends the summary of chapter 17. Chapter 18 begins with Arjuna's question to understand the two terms Tyaga and Sannyasa. We will enter into chapter 18 in the next session. Namaste. Hare Krishna.